Hello everyone and welcome to another mystery object answer video on our own devices. I'm Jean Messier, and yesterday I showed you this object, a small handheld metal box with a cocking lever and a little trigger button on the side, which when depressed, releases 10 very sharp semicircular blades. Now, hopefully, most of you guessed that this is a scarificator, which is an instrument designed for the now defunct medical practice of bloodletting. Bloodletting was based on the ancient four humours theory of medicine, which held that all bodily processes were regulated by four fundamental fluids, or humours: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile, and that all diseases were caused by various imbalances in the levels of these humours. Thus, said diseases could be treated by restoring this balance. For example, doctors would administer emetics, laxatives, and diuretics, and carry out bloodletting or phlebotomy to drain away excess humours. Now, the history and subtleties of humoral theory are beyond the scope of this video, but thankfully I've written 2 detailed videos on the subject over on Today I Found Out, link in the description. Now, initially, bloodletting was performed using a variety of regular knives and razors. Indeed, for many centuries, the practice was performed not by physicians, but rather barber surgeons, who also could cut their clients' hair. In fact, the traditional barber's pole is derived from the pole patients were made to grip to encourage the flow of blood, with the red stripe representing that blood. The knob on top was also originally a representation of the bowl used to catch the blood, which was traditionally displayed outside the barber surgeon's shop as an advertisement or badge of the trade. Later, a specific tool called a lancet was developed for the task, and this became such an iconic symbol of the medical profession, much like the stethoscope today, that one of the world's oldest and most respected medical journals still bears that name. Later, lancets are supplemented by instruments known as phlemes, the name derived from the Greek phlebos, or blood, also the origin of the word phlebotomy. Originally developed for veterinary work, phlemes consisted of a small curved or triangular puncturing blade mounted perpendicularly on a short arm. The blade was placed against the patient's skin and struck with a mallet to make a narrow incision. The blades were specifically designed to create a clean, narrow cut that could easily be closed using a single figure-of-8 suture. These were often sold in hinged sets with multiple differently sized blades depending on how much blood needed to be drained. However, as you can imagine, these processes could be quite painful and distressing to patients, so a number of improved instruments were soon developed to make the bloodletting process quicker and more humane. The first of these were spring phlemes, which used a powerful spring instead of a mallet to drive the blade into the patient's skin. Later, in the early 18th century, multi-blade scarificators like this one were developed, so let's have a closer look at this and let me show you how this works. Right, so this is actually quite a simple device. To use this, you pull back on this trigger-shaped lever to cock the mechanism, place this face against the patient's skin, and push this button to release a set of 10 rotary blades. This procedure would often be followed up by cupping, whereby a special heated glass cup was placed over the wound. As the cup cooled, a vacuum would form inside, helping to draw out the blood. Now, to adjust the depth of the blades, we simply turn this knob at the top, causing the 2 halves of the casing to telescope in and out. If we unscrew this all the way, the 2 halves come apart and we can see the internal mechanism. As you can see, the blades are attached to these 2 shafts, which are linked via gears at the end to a central gear attached to the cocking lever. This and the trigger button are in turn connected to a powerful spring at the top of the housing via a series of mechanical links and sears. Now, to remove the blade shafts for sharpening, replacement, or adjustment, you swing open this little gate here and they just pop out. Indeed, when I first acquired this, the blades were set at 90 degrees to their regular position, meaning they swung out when you pulled back the cocking lever. Unfortunately, however, disassembling the rest of the mechanism requires forcing out a pin at the top of the blade depth adjustment screw, and as I don't want to damage this artifact, I'm just going to leave this as it is. Now, dozens of scarificator designs are developed over a period of around 200 years, bearing the name of inventors such as Charliat, Tiemann, and Mathieu. Now, I've not been able to determine whose specific patent this model was based on, but I do know that this is likely a French design, since French scarificators tended to be square or octagonal with a knurled adjustment knob, whereas English-style scarificators typically had round knurled bodies and a sort of butterfly wing nut adjustment knob. And I did manage to determine who exactly produced this example: the Nye Shear Corporation of America, a major manufacturer of surgical and other medical supplies, originally located at the corner of 7th Avenue and 17th Street in New York City. In 1926, the company moved to Newark, New Jersey, changed their name to simply KS, and dropped their original Staff of Asclepius logo, which you can see clearly on the side of the cocking lever. This means that this example was likely manufactured prior to 1926. Indeed, if we look in this 1915 Nye Shear catalog, we can find this exact same model along with 8, 12, and 16 blade versions, a round English-style model, and dozens of models of vacuum cups. To learn more about the use of the stuff of Asclepius as a symbol of medicine, please check out my video on the topic over on Today I Found Out. Link, as always, in the description. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, what was a company like Nye Shear doing selling scarificators in 1915, long after the four humours theory had gone out of fashion in Western medicine? Well, number of different reasons. Number one, bloodletting was still performed by alternative medical practitioners, a market that companies like Nye Shear still catered to. And number two, scarificators were also used in the administration of smallpox vaccines, a procedure that involved introducing the vaccine solution to a puncture in the skin. Later on, a bifurcated needle was substituted for this purpose. And finally, then, as today, bloodletting was still rarely prescribed for various conditions such as polycythemia and hemochromatosis, where the body produces an excess of blood cells. Anyway, I hope you guessed correctly, and I hope you found that interesting. I'll see you next time in another video where we'll look at yet more mystery objects and other fascinating devices just like this one. Until then, I'm Jean Messier from Our Own Devices. Have a great day.